What up, y'all? It's your boy Ben here, and welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video. I am in such a good mood because we finally got an announcement for the expansion that is coming, and we have a confirmed date, Tuesday, December 17th, and we are going to welcome in Mythical Island, which is a new booster pack featuring Mew on the cover, and we're getting 80 cards, y'all. 80 cards. So that is like awesome to see. There are 5 trainer cards and 5 new EX cards that are confirmed, and at least 2 immersive Pokemon that are going to be worth chasing after, which is going to be so dope. If you're like me and you were just like super excited and you kind of like missed some of the Pokemon that are there, this is what this video is for, because we're going to deep dive into all of the Pokemon that are shown, go over their attacks, their text if we have that opportunity to do so that way you don't miss out on everything. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. So before we jump into things, only 2% of you who are watching are subscribed, and we are trying to hit 10,000 before the end of the year, and you can make that happen. So go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and click that notification bell button so that way you don't miss out on this wonderful content that we're putting on this channel. Sometimes even double, maybe even triple uploads to make sure that you're kept up on the latest news. All right, y'all, let's get into it. All right, our first card here is Mew EX, y'all. It is HP 130, Psyshot with 1 psychic energy, and then genome hacking for 3 energy. I think this is sweet. You can overpower the fire decks, you can overpower the psychic decks. Those big hitters take a while to build up, and now we can get there faster and really either revenge hit or start their attack much earlier than they can, and I love that. Then we have AroundThaBen EX, a mon who like doesn't mind going first because it is an EX Pokemon, which is lovely. It has a higher HP stat of 140, so it takes a lot longer to knock out. But what's really cool about this is its ability. Your opponent can't play any Pokemon from their hand to evolve their active Pokemon. So if you get this out on turn 2 immediately, you're already slowing down your opponent. They have to decide to use their energy to retreat mons or let that first one go and build up things in the back. At this point, you're already a 2 energy attacker, one requiring a fighting energy, the other one's a colorless. So hey, you want to throw this in a grass deck, a water deck, or whatever kind of deck that you'd like, you can also do that, which is really nice. But that 80 damage is no joke on the opponent's basic Pokemon. So high pressure, immediate pressure, early pressure is the key with AroundThaBen. Then we have Execute. Execute is a mon, a basic mon, HP 50. We already have one in the game, so this is a different version of it. It takes 1 colorless energy, which allows you to take an energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. So the interesting thing to question here is I wonder if we're going to get a new Executor, because the Executor that we have currently and the Executor EX only require 1 energy to attack. The basic one, you deal 30 and you flip a coin to do 60, or the EX where you deal 40 and then you flip a coin to do 80. So if we're gathering energy, maybe a low-end Executor might be down the line, because then that could deal something with 2 or 3 or 4 energy, but like that's okay because you've had this Execute that's been able to ramp itself up. So I'm curious, this will be pretty cool. Up next we have a Snivy. Snivy is another basic mon, 70. The Vine Whip attack for 2 energy, a grass, and a colorless for 40. Reminds me of Bulbasaur and how it's statted. This is most likely a stage 1 and stage 2 line, in which we'll see stage 1 be Servine and stage 2 be Superior. We haven't seen those 2 cards officially in the trailer, but they wouldn't leave Snivy out by itself. That's weird, and why wouldn't you include these evolutions in there? So there's another 2 possible cards that have yet to be talked about, yet to be revealed, and that's kind of exciting to see in which way it goes. We kind of don't really get any hints of like how they're designing it, because Vine Whip is just such a generic move, but who knows, because they love to cook, and we see that with some of the other cards that we just talked about and other cards that are coming up. So this could be very exciting, and we'll see if this Grassmon can get picked up more often. Then we have more Lull here, who is actually a grass and fairy typing, and so they're using grass because we don't have fairy typing anymore in the card game. Its HP is 60, 1 energy to attack for a ram. It evolves into Shiinotic, and so that's really cool. They're introducing another just like stage 1 Pokemon, and so I wonder if they'll do Shiinotic and Shiinotic EX, similar to how they did Executor and Executor EX, or they can just leave it as a stage 1 normal, right? Like you don't need to add EX for everything else. But again, interesting to see if they will play with that. This Mon definitely is like a utility kind of piece, so like maybe we'll see Spore, and that's another way to have Pokemon go to sleep, and that could be interesting to see if they play into that for the Evo for this card. And then the last addition of the grass typing that we see from the trailer is Delmise. Delmise is a basic Mon for 100 HP. It has 1 energy attack for 20 for energy whip. However, that is not it. So if this Pokemon has an extra 3 grass energy attached, this attack does 70 more damage. We've seen the likes of this with like Lapras, but Lapras has things like Misty to set up with, so kind of playing around with like things that will make this work. However, it is a tanky Mon, and it is a basic Mon, so you can just attach 1 energy and set up whatever else that you would like to set up in the backline, because 100 damage is a lot to go through, and the fact that you're still guaranteeing some kind of damage will still chip away at your opponent, so that way your backline is setting up for whatever you're setting up to deal that. And so that's pretty good. Grass is getting a tank. It is much needed for that typing, so that's pretty sweet to see. Introducing some fire types from the trailer, we have first off Magmar. Magmar has Fire Blast, discard 2 fire energy from this Pokemon. It requires 2 fire energy to attack. It does 80 damage. It's a fast hitter. It's a heavy hitter. We'll see if this one allows Magmar to get played. Magmar already doesn't see a lot, but maybe now it will, because it definitely has a damage boost in that, but that comes at a cost of losing the energy that you have built up. Who knows? Who knows? This could work. I like it. I think that the higher damage boost puts things on a lot of pressure. 80 damage is no joke, so I think that's pretty sweet. And the fire typing is gaining another basic and stage 1 evolution line with Larvesta. We saw Larvesta in the trailer, and it evolves into Volcrona, which in Gen 5 is probably one of the more popular fire types to have, and probably Volcrona is probably one of the favorited bug types in the game as well. They are choosing to go with fire this time around, and so it has a 2 energy attack for combustion for 30, but the HP is what's high here, right? So what you lose in damage, what you lose in having to gather energy for it, you gain an 80 HP, and 80 HP survives a lot. Breaks through a Giovanni, it breaks through some of the early attacks that are on there, so like that's kind of tanky already, and we haven't seen what Volcrona will do or how much that will add to it, so that's kind of nice as a setup to have either in the front line to start off the game, or in the back line building it up to then like stall out the game as you're looking for your other cards. Getting into the water typing, we did only get 1 water type, and so we have Vaporeon, which is the art in of itself is amazing. They dropped this, and I'm just kind of like, oh man, I want this. I want this a lot. So I'm excited to like chase after this card. The ability here is Washout. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a water energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active water Pokemon. So if you have 3 bench Pokemon, then you can move up to 3 energies, 1 from each, is as I'm reading. Or is it just a move with just 1 water energy from 1 Pokemon? Let me know how you think about that and how that plays out, but this is pretty sweet. This does not work with like Dragonite, because Dragonite is a dragon Pokemon, but this definitely has some play into a lot of the different Watermons that are slower, and kind of gives you ways to play the game without having to rely just on Misty, which is pretty nice, because at the end of the day you're still gathering energy. It's just a matter of like, I drew my pieces late, therefore I can't use the energy. Well, now you can. And the sweet part is this doesn't mean that it has to be in the active spot, so Vaporeon could be sitting on the bench. Even though it's 120 HP, you could use it as a tank as well too, but you are able to use this similar to how some other moves could be without having to be in the active spot. That's my interpretation. Let me know if you think that is not right, but I love that. Then we move on to the electric mons. We have the Dene. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. It does 10 damage. It takes 1 energy. Something that's similar to this is Pincurchin. So you have an idea of like what you want to use. Pincurchin requires 2 energy in order to use it. It deals more damage. It deals 30. Has like that same effect of flipping a coin for paralysis. However, it has a higher HP stat. So do you value the quick 10, or do you invest in another energy and then use that for the 30? This loses to a Mewtwo, Psyshock with a Giovanni, whereas like Pincurchin doesn't. So give or take of like, you know, no one card is better than the other. It's kind of like, what is your play style? And so those are the things that you have to consider as you're like building your decks. Oh, and this one's so sweet. We have Marshadow, basic mom, but it's a mythical. It's a full art card. It has a fighting energy and a colorless revenge 40 plus. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out by a damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, this attack does 60 more damage. Put this one on the bench, let something go down, or like, you know, just attack with something, let it go down, send this out 100. It's a sweeper. That is pretty sweet. And the beautiful part, it only has 1 retreat cost. So you just switch it right back out and put something else up. So like a lot of times you'll have a point or 2 where like you're down, but like you're never out with a mon like this, and that is sweet. Taurus rounds us out with the Pokemon cards that we can see from the trailer. And this mon is pretty good, you know? I mean, it's 100 HP. It's fighting tackle, 3 energy to use this, and there's a reason for it because it starts off with 40 damage. However, if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX, this attack does 80 more damage. It one-shots Pikachu. So like you can use this to counter that. You do require energy to boost it up. The Pikachu's, it like has another means of like counterplay, which is really cool that they're introducing these kinds of cards into the game to like help counteract the meta. Because I don't know about y'all, during this like 5-win streak, I did see a lot of Pikachus, and a card like this would be pretty sweet to have. Our first trainer card that we got to see in the trailer is Blue. During your opponent's next turn, all your Pokemon take minus 10 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. Now this is really nice because there are a lot of times where you could have survived 1 more turn. All you needed was just 1 more turn in order for your payoffs to work out, but it doesn't because your opponent had the Giovanni. And with the limited pool of trainers that we've had, it was more likely than not that they were running the Giovanni. And so in comes Blue playing defense and saving you and giving you that chance to have that 1 more play. And I think that is very sweet. I really like this, and I wonder how often we're gonna get cards that does this. And what I would also love to see is like, do we get a full, like we get a full art Blue, right? Like that would make sense. And so I kind of wonder what that looks like. Leaf is another supporter card that we get from the trailer, which means that there are 3 more that we don't know yet. So that's pretty cool. But during this turn, the retreat cost of your active Pokemon is 2 less. So this may seem like, whoa, that's huge. And like, I think something that like I wanted to see was something that made Snorlax a little bit more viable, because again, once you throw it out there, it's done. This definitely supports that, so that's awesome. But Leaf is a supporter, so you can only play it once, right? So you can throw this in there. You can still double it up with your X speeds in there, but there are a lot of mons in which this is great, and you'd rather be able to use this than an X speed, or you can have this and 1 X speed. You know, like it's just, it adds to it, but you have to run the risk of that. Like, you can only play 1 supporter per turn. So like, do you play your Blue? Do you play your Sabrina? Do you play your Professor's Research? You now have to like think about how you are building those things out, because it restricts the other cards that you could play, whereas like your item cards, you can just stack them. Cards to be confirmed, because they weren't in there but they were mentioned, were Pidgeot EX, Celebi EX, and this Pikachu, which has a circle circuit, but it only does 10 damage for each of your bench Pokemon, and it does it for 1 lightning attack. This is probably, and 100% a must include in all Pikachu decks, and that's pretty sweet. Probably take over a lot of them, especially because that is doing 30 damage pretty early. However, it only has 60 HP, so it's not living quite as long as Pikachu EX. But it's a basic, so it's only worth 1 point. So kind of interesting to see what we'll be playing in and what we'll be playing out in those style of decks, because it already has so many cards to play with. Some Pokemon that were seen in the trailer, but we're not sure if they'll actually be part of the set. But again, you're just kind of like thinking about different ways, and like it would be really cool because they were in the trailer, so like why not give them some love? We saw Lipard, which was really dope to see right away in the beginning. We also got a chance to see Executor. So going back to like how we saw Execute, and we got a new card for Execute, so maybe we get a new card for Executor, maybe we get a regional variant, and this is their first way of saying here's a regional variant, but they could just give us a new Executor card that like requires more energy to attack, and that would be pretty sweet. Then we also see Magikarp, Gyarados, and Rapidash. We just saw that we got a new Execute. We just got the promos for Mankey and all the other cards that got like, you know, added new in. So like, why not? This could also be a chance for them to give us the red Gyarados. It could, you know, this is the Mythical Island. Why not make it real mythical by giving us our first shiny card? I don't know. It would be pretty sweet to see that, but who knows, right? Who knows? And then we also see Volcrona and Sandalit in here. Again, maybe new cards, maybe not, but that'd be pretty dope. And then we take a look at this like piece right here where we see the Superior, we see the Stonejourner, we see the Beehive, and then like the Mew playing around with it. So many different gens that we're getting, different looks at. I think it's really awesome that like my first thoughts were that they were just gonna stick to Kanto, and a lot of the cards are Kanto, but they still splashed in different generations, and that was through the cards that we got to see. That was through the beginning parts of the Pokemon that we got to see through the trailer, so that's great. But yeah, y'all, let me know, what cards are you most excited for? What are you looking forward to playing with? What cards do you still want to see? There's still room for more cards. It's 80 of them, so let me know down in the comments, and I'm excited to keep this conversation going. Until the next video, y'all, peace.